Imagine showing up to board your cruise ship, luggage in hand, only to find out that your cruise doesn't actually exist. Scammers out there are trying to steal your money and ruin your hard-earned vacation. I'm going to show you how to avoid the 5 biggest scams targeting you before you even step on board the cruise ship. And stick around until the end because there's a new Mexican law that goes way beyond a scam. It could actually land you in jail. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, bringing you fresh cruise advice, money-saving hacks, and secret strategies the cruise lines don't advertise. After decades of cruising, I've learned one thing, and that is that it's usually an advantage for me to book my cruises with a cruise travel agent instead of directly with the cruise line. Because anytime I run into any problems or issues or need to make changes, they usually have an inside way to help me out with that. But you have to really be careful who you book with because there are a lot of fake travel agents out there, especially on social media. Some people posing as travel agents but don't really have the credentials, and other people just outright trying to take your money. My own mother almost fell for one of these a couple years back when she found somebody on Facebook on one of the groups that she's in offering a cruise that was catered to retirees 65 and older. And she thought that's perfect for me. So she was going to go ahead and book that. But she was asking me about the ship and something didn't seem right. When I looked into it, there was actually no such cruise out there. And then there was a travel agent in New York that recently scammed cruise passengers out of over $35,000 by booking a bunch of people on a fake cruise, a cruise that didn't even exist. Now, it's really easy to avoid working with these kind of shady characters. The one thing you need to do is go to trustpilot.com. This is a public website where you can look up reviews for any company, but especially if you're going to be booking a cruise with somebody you've never worked with before, look up their reviews on Trustpilot. That is a sure way to tell if they have good ratings, good service, and good feedback. And if you're looking at a 1 or 1.5 star rating, you should probably avoid them. In fact, the company that I always used to book with, Cruise Direct, I actually just looked them up myself on Trustpilot, and they've got a rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars. So you know you can trust a company like that. If you'd like to book with them, I do have a link in my description below. But any company that you're going to book with, look them up, do a little research before you send them the money, and you'll protect yourself and your vacation. A scammer recently tried to get me with this next one, but I'm going to tell you how to recognize it and avoid it. It wasn't too long ago, I almost got scammed trying to book a shore excursion in the Cayman Islands. So I was looking for a snorkel tour, and usually I only book with 2 main shore excursion companies. But somehow I had gotten onto a website I didn't recognize. I'd never been there before. I must have clicked on a Google link somewhere, but when I found this, it looked really attractive. It was a snorkel tour of the islands with a local guide, and it promised that the boat would have less than 8 people on board, which for me is very intriguing. So I tried to book it, and the website looked like a normal site. It took your credit card, took all your information, looked completely legit. So I actually tried to book it. And here's what happened. I got an email back maybe a few hours later, and the email stated, "We are having a problem with our credit card processing. We need you to send a payment by Cash App or Zelle in order to book this excursion." Well, that's the biggest red flag ever. If anybody ever asks you to send a cash transfer or a cash payment by any means, PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, whatever it is, don't do it. That is a big red flag for a major scam. Now, what I should have done was checked out this company on Trustpilot first, but I didn't because I feel comfortable that when I'm paying with my credit card, I have a guarantee that if it's a scam, I'll get my money back. And that's exactly why most scammers will not take your credit card, because they can't get away with that for very long. The credit card companies go after them, and the credit card company will give you your money back, so you're not really at a loss. But if you send a cash transfer, that money is gone. In fact, a Carnival passenger last year lost over $3,500 to this exact type of scam. They were sending cash payments for shore excursions, and nothing ended up being booked. Now, just to be safe, always work with a licensed provider and use known websites. I've got links to the two companies I always book with, Viator and Shore Excursions Group. I know these companies are good. Not all of their tours are great, but they have reviews on all of the tours. So you can pick the ones that are more highly rated by people. And I've got a lot of feedback from other viewers who use Viator and Shore Excursions Group and said that their experience with them was bar none superior to similar experiences they had had booking cruise line shore excursions. Now, this next scam almost got a good friend of mine. A good friend of mine was recently targeted by this scam. He had booked a cruise, and maybe about a month, 6 weeks before his cruise, he got a call from the cruise line, or so they said. And the cruise line told him that there was a drop in the price for his cruise, and that they would be happy to give him the new lower price and save him about $600. They told him that they were going to refund the full purchase price of his cruise and recharge him the new lower price. They just needed his credit card number. Well, this sounded a little iffy to my friend, so he said, okay, let me get my card, I don't have it, and I'll call you back. And that was a very smart move because he was cruising with Royal Caribbean and he looked up his reservation and he called the cruise line directly and asked to speak with somebody about this. And they told him, we don't know what you're talking about. So clearly this person was posing as a Royal Caribbean agent trying to get that credit card information from my friend. Sometimes this scam comes in another form. I've heard many cruisers say that they'll get calls from people reportedly working for the cruise line stating that there was an increase in port fees or an increase in some other kind of fee that they were going to be responsible for, and they needed their credit card to take care of those fees before their cruise. This really will not happen because cruise lines who book you at a specific price, they are going to be responsible for any changes after that booking, not you. And in my experience, cruise lines will never call you to offer you a lower price. In fact, many cruise lines will honor a lower price, but it's you who have to find that and call them and ask to be rebooked at that lower price. Major cruise lines like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian are warning passengers that these scams are on the rise. The number one way you can protect yourself is that if you are ever contacted by your cruise line regarding anything for your cruise or your reservation, you can always put them on hold, put them off, and tell them you'll call them back, and get the number to call them directly from your reservation or from the cruise line's official website. Then you can take care of any issues that might arise without worrying that you're being scammed. Next, I'm going to tell you about a scam that is on the rise because of increasing governmental regulations. But if you are interested in booking a cruise and you want a safe way to find the great deals, we actually have a list directly from the cruise lines of the best deals you can book right now. If you'd like a copy of that list, just comment deals. Comment the word deals below and I'll email it to you. More and more cruisers these days are being required to obtain electronic visas in order to travel to certain countries and certain ports of call. And this is an open door for scammers because they set up these fake government-looking websites to try to sell you these visas that you're going to need if you're traveling to certain countries, and they're fraudulent. There's nothing you're going to get with that. In fact, you end up giving them your credit card number, who knows what they charge on there, and you don't even have the actual document you need. Cruisers who fall for this scam might not only be out some money, but they could actually be denied boarding for their cruise for not having the proper documents. And this next scam lures a lot of cruisers in with a big promise. I've gotten email offers, and I've even seen on some social media platforms, offers of a free cruise. Sounds great, right? You want a free cruise. But when you call them up or click on the link, they always want your credit card for something, usually because they say you're responsible for the port fees or the taxes. This is a clear scam. Don't fall for this. There really aren't free cruises out there that somebody's just giving away unless it's coming directly from the cruise line because maybe you played in the casino enough and they're offering you a free cruise reward. That does happen, and if it comes directly from the line, it's legitimate, but they're still going to charge you those port fees. Next, I'm going to get to the most outrageous thing that goes well beyond a scam, and it's being perpetrated by the Mexican government. But first, I would ask if you can take a minute and subscribe to our channel. Hit that like button. It helps us grow and continue to bring you new cruising content. Losing money to a scammer is one thing, but there's a new law from the Mexican government which seems to be targeting Americans, and it reads a lot like a scam. Here's what you need to know. This applies to anybody who vapes or uses electronic cigarettes. Mexico has now banned the production, the sale, and the importation of these products into the country. So if you are cruising or traveling to Mexico in any capacity, be very careful if you use these products. Do not take them off the ship. Here's how passengers are getting scammed. You could be caught bringing a vape or an e-cigarette into the country by border control. And if they catch you, they give you two options. You pay a huge fine, maybe $4,000 or more, or you spend some time in jail. The last place anybody wants to go is to jail, much less a Mexican jail. So leave that stuff on the ship or just leave it at home. This seems like a big scam targeting Americans because Americans are the most common travelers to Mexico, and these things are completely legal in the US and in most other countries around the world. Now that you know how to avoid these pre-cruise scams, there are a series of scams targeting passengers at cruise ports of call. I'll tell you how to avoid those right here.